Another week, another wave of destruction and defiance. Germany found new long-range missile for Ukraine, delivery expected this month. Russia fires 65 missiles and 2,000 drones in 6 days. Civilians area hit across the country. Kherson under fire again. 3 injured overnight, nearly 800 wounded in 6 months. Ukrainian 63rd Brigade strikes back. Drone footage shows occupiers destroyed in their hideouts. I'm Zoreslava Kolesnikova and this is Ukraine Today, your frontline source for truth, impact and resistance. Big moves from Berlin. While Germany still holds back its powerful Taurus missiles, it's now fully funding the production of new long-range weapons for Ukraine, and they are set to arrive this July. What exactly is being built with German money? How will it change the battlefield? And what other support can Ukraine expect from one of Europe's strongest allies? Let's break it down.
Kyiv is in dire need of weapons like the German Taurus missiles. They have a long range and are designed for precision strikes against the most heavily fortified and deep targets. And this is well understood in Germany, yet they are still not ready to hand over these missiles. Partly due to operational concerns, among other reasons, operating this complex modern weapon requires German military personnel or technical staff. And Moscow could interpret this as an escalation, seeing it as direct involvement of Berlin in the hostilities. Nevertheless, Germany is still providing assistance with long-range weapons because they agree that it is necessary to strike deep into Russian territory, says military aid coordinator Christian Freudig. That is why work is already underway in Ukraine on new missiles, which have been funded by Berlin and are being produced at our factories.
According to the initiative launched at the end of May, the first long-range systems are planned to be delivered to the armed forces of Ukraine by the end of July. And these will be large quantities in the triple digits, and this will significantly strengthen Ukraine's air defense capabilities in the coming weeks and months.
The specifications of the new weapon are not being disclosed. These missiles are unlikely to replace the high-tech Taurus systems, but they will be able to effectively strike the aggressor's bases, command posts and airfields, the general assures. The German government is funding the production not only of missiles, but also of other air defense assets, including interceptor drones. Due to the war in Ukraine, Berlin has even launched independent production of missiles for the American Patriot systems. The first of these are expected in a year or two, and theoretically, these missiles could be supplied directly to Ukraine without approval from the United States. In addition, the Bundeswehr is looking for ways to purchase 1 or 2 Patriot systems for Ukraine. Defense Minister Pistorius will discuss this with his American counterpart as early as tomorrow during his visit to the United States.
Ukrainian air defense remains stable. It still maintains a success rate of 80%, which is quite impressive and significant. But of course, as you say, others must also take countermeasures and further strengthen their defenses. Germany has played a leading role for years. We have taken on the responsibility of leadership. We are now once again closely coordinating with our partners on how we can acquire new advanced units, how we can bring new medium and long-range air defense systems into the country.
The general himself is in Kyiv these days. He is a frequent guest in the capital as he coordinates German assistance with domestic manufacturers and politicians. It is Berlin, together with London, that will host the next meeting of the Ramstein Contact Group. It is scheduled to take place within the next 10 days in an online format. And Freudig promises even more defensive tools for Ukraine, from drones to long-range weapons. The last Ramstein meeting at the beginning of June set a record for the amount of military aid from the Allies. Their approach to assisting Kyiv is changing before our eyes. This now looks more like a long-term strategy, where they're not just making one-off decisions about specific types of weapons, but are investing in Ukrainian production. Svitlana Chernetska, Yuri Romanyuk. Details from the British Bureau of Inter-Television Channel, United News Marathon.
A brutal wave of terror from the skies. From July 7 to 12, Russia launched 65 missiles and nearly 2,000 drones against Ukraine, targeting civilians, areas, energy sites and entire cities. No region was freed, no one is safe. As Moscow ramps up its campaign of destruction, Ukraine's air force continue to defend, but the scale is staggering. Here's what you need to know.
The night of July 12th. Another massive shelling of Ukrainian cities and communities by the Russian army. From various directions, Bryansk, Primorsko-Akhtarsk, Kursk, Oryol, Milarovo, the aggressor country launched 597 drones and 26 Kh-101 cruise missiles. Russia directed its main strike at the western regions of Ukraine, Volyn, Chernivtsi, and Lviv oblasts.
The Shahids were flying very low. There were about 10 of them, and they were flying, exploding, and almost the last one crashed here. We felt the explosion. The curtains offered some protection, so the glass didn't fly far. Of course, it was very scary and loud.
We actually woke up not from the explosion, but from that beeping sound. I think it exploded right in our building entrance. Everyone is alive. Everyone is safe. Honestly, there's nothing left, but life is more important.
Russia is deliberately destroying civilian infrastructure and killing peaceful residents, says the head of the Kherson Regional Military Administration, Alexander Prokutin. On July 10th, in the village of Pravdine in the Kherson region, a Russian drone killed a 1-year-old child who was playing in the yard. This is not an accident, says the head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, Andriy Yermak.
Russian drone operators use FPV drones, which allow them to clearly observe people's movements from a distance and attack them with maximum precision. Every day, the people of Kherson endure this terror, calling their city a human safari zone. There are many such cases. Andriy Yermak, head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, on Telegram.
From July 7th to 12th, Russia launched 65 missiles and nearly 2,000 attack drones at Ukrainian cities. Russia is attacking the heart of Ukraine, Kiev, with particular persistence. After each such attack, residential buildings and civilian infrastructure are destroyed. Russian attacks are becoming increasingly massive, as noted by the UN.
The majority of civilian casualties in June, 53%, were caused by long-range missile strikes and explosive munitions in urban areas. In Dnipro, Kiev, and Kharkiv, for example, strikes often resulted in numerous casualties in a single incident. The number of wounded civilians is especially high. In June 2025, the number of missiles and explosive munitions launched by the Russian Federation at Ukrainian territory was more than 10 times higher than in June 2024. From the report of the UN Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine.
The intensification of shelling serves several purposes, according to Mikhailo Podolyak, advisor to the head of the Office of the President of Ukraine. The first is revenge by the Russian command against Ukrainians, the second is psychological pressure on the civilian population. And the third goal is an attempt to cover up failures at the front with terror.
As of today, it is clear that Putin will not win this war in any sense. Second, unfortunately, for now, due to a lack of resources, Putin is also not losing this war. And third, Putin cannot get out of this war. Do you understand? And so now, everything Putin is doing is pointless in every sense of the word pointless. And the only thing he can do is simply kill people. So now the war is just for the sake of mass killings, not for any particular goals.
Russian terror can only be stopped by tough and decisive measures, declared Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. He called on Kiev's partners to impose sanctions on Moscow and those who help it produce weapons and earn revenue from oil sales. In addition, Ukraine needs more air defense systems and investments in the production of interceptor drones to protect the civilian population. We expect not just signals from our partners, but actions that can save lives, the head of state emphasized. Andriy Dmitrenko for Freedom TV channel.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
Shocking footage from the front lines. Ukraine's 63rd Brigade is relentless. Their FPV drones pilots are striking deep behind enemy lines, blowing up Russian hideouts and taking out enemy assault teams before they can regroup. Priority targets: enemy drone pilots. Mission: total disruption. Result: one-way ticket to nowhere. How Russian forces. These are the moments when Ukrainian steel and skill change their course of battle. Don't miss it. After a brutal night in Kherson, a Russian artillery strike injured 3 civilians, all hit while inside their homes. Conclusions: explosive injuries had trauma, just their latest toll in a region under constant fire. Over the past 6 months, over 18 people have been killed and around 800 wounded in Kherson Oblast alone. Local hospitals are overwhelmed. The terror continues.
Drones struck, and that's how people were wounded. Some even had their legs amputated.
He was riding his bicycle to the store for bread, but became a target for a Russian drone. Valentin, a resident of Kherson, has been recovering from his injuries for a week now in the surgical ward of the local hospital. The occupiers dropped explosives right at his feet.
They don't have mercy on anyone. If they see a living person, they'll drop it and destroy them. The drone just appeared in front of me instantly. And the road is such that you can't hide there. There are no trees or anything. Well, I wouldn't have made it anyway. Well, small fragments, well, a bit in the chest area. Well, my foot was pretty badly cut up.
On the neighboring bed is Mr. Volodymyr. He says he never imagined that at 87 he would be running from Russian shells. He was the only one left living on the street. Everyone else had evacuated. During another shelling, his house caught fire. When I was escaping, I didn't even realize at first that my leg was broken.
The blood was pouring terribly, everything was on fire, the house was burning. Somehow I managed to start the car, drove off and thought, either I'll burn here or they'll kill me on the way.
To get to the hospital, Kherson residents try to walk under the trees, because the road is very dangerous. Drones can be anywhere. In just one of Kherson's hospitals, there are currently about 30 wounded. The head of the department shows the shrapnel that they remove from people during surgeries.
Limbs, chest cavity, abdominal cavity. You can't really draw any parallels here. Out of 50 beds in the department, 28 are occupied by mine and explosive injuries. Well, the injuries are varied too. Head, chest, abdomen, limbs, yes. And what's the most difficult? If it's the limbs, then it's bone fractures. That is, these people, they stay for a very long time in rehab, in treatment, in rehabilitation.
Yes, they brought me in with these torn wounds. They barely managed to get me here. I, Ho, from Kherson, also came under a drone strike.
I was going to feed the dog.
I was going to feed the dog, went downstairs, and the drone hid and then took off. They have these special little stands there so the shell doesn't touch the ground. It took off. I tried to hide, but it still dropped it.
The occupiers also drop explosives from drones onto cars, public transport, in markets and near shops to maximize the number of casualties.
My leg was completely shattered then after a long and painful recovery.
My leg was crushed. A fragment got into my lung, a rib was broken, and it missed my heart by only 2 centimeters.
Since the beginning of the year, more than 80 people have been killed by Russian terror in the deoccupied part of Kherson region. Just this week in Pravda, the Russians attacked 1-year-old Dmitrik with a Molniya drone while he was playing in the yard. The child was killed and his grandmother was wounded. The American publication New York Post has already written about this killing and called it barbarism. According to the General Staff, the armed forces of Ukraine identified the launch site of the drone and directed 5 FPV drones there. At this time, there is reason to believe that the operators of the enemy strike drones involved in the child's death have been eliminated, the General Staff reported. From Kherson, Tatiana Savulia, My Ukraine Marathon, United News.
That's all for today on Ukraine Today. If you want to help us keep going, like, comment, share this video and consider becoming a channel sponsor. Every bit of support helps us tell the truth and stand with Ukraine. Stay strong, stay informed and as always, stand with Ukraine. See you next time!